Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. All right. Nations do not need to self-sabotage the species. As a human being in the year 2025, I was born in December 17, 1991, 9 a.m. in Tehran. I was raised in Canada most of my life, Toronto, Canada. And today is June 17 in Toronto, Canada. And right now, for those who may be listening in the future, hopefully, we have reached a point in global politics where nations are at war, and the Israel-Iran conflict seems to be escalating, and rather than nations in a classroom, all the other students preventing the war, they're in some sense joining it. Now, it means the fate of humanity is in the hands of the leaders of humanity, to some degree. Guys, this sound is coming from outside. I don't know if you can hear it. To continue, for those who may be listening in the future, right now on the planet, there's missiles being fired from both nations to each other. There's tragedy. The human lives are in danger. And so, as a human being in this kind of weird and scary, and at the same time scary in regards to the amount that the species can lose, even though right now I'm giving this talk while it's a regional conflict. So, right now we're at a point where war may be possible. And, they talk about this idea of how in species there's alpha males and beta males. But it is so bizarre how powerless you feel as a citizen when your nation is ignorant of ethics. I feel that the most powerful human beings on the planet, when the decision of it is left to a bunch of humans, you don't understand. We've been casually living, going to the movie theaters, enjoying food outside, not realizing this whole time, the peace of the world is being kept based on human psychology. Right now, we're in the era of human leaders. Humans are emotional beings, and sometimes their emotions make them forget the future because they have to retaliate for what's been done in the past. And so my strategy is the Mr. Withinian approach to this, in the presence of the system admin, in the presence of all that is even created. I find that in some sense the role of the human species is too important for nationalistic pride. And so it's this bizarre situation where the people, that means if the captain of the ship is driving the ship to some stones where there's like stones in the waters, it's at that point where the crew members must gracefully put their hand on the shoulders of their leaders of each nation and be like, take a step back, breathe anew, wonder about the future, and stay true. You know, there was a time I thought that, you know, should I go into politics, and I realized I don't have the nature for it. But when there is something so important happening, something that I want the leaders of nations to be aware. You know, that means the secular explanation and the theological explanation both hold the human being in high regard. And we have to understand that our species is at the turning point from nationalism to speciesism. But it's not going to happen because one person says so. It's the emergence of human consciousness in the recognition that it's in some sense hurting human beings, humans hurting humans, is a completely different story than nations fighting nations. Nations could be fighting uncostly wars. They could be, in some sense, you could be like, yo man, bring two leaders and put a chessboard in front of them, and whoever wins has to accept defeat. But in sense, they're in some sense involving the whole nation due to the disagreements of man. So I, as a human being, right now I'm a member of Canada, but I'm a dual citizen. I was born in Iran and I've been raised in Canada. I'm kind of like, you know, I kind of resonate with Wolverine from X-Men and his origins. I am trying to say, if there was a better way and the better way was accessible but not taken, it is the failure of the human race. And you know, in some sense, when your species is failing, something happens in you. You could be living, it doesn't matter if you're a peasant or you're a prince. When the kingdom is in some sense about to get rid of itself, your heart commands you to go forth. And you see, the struggle is, it's a value game. That means it's like, I was like, yo man, what if somebody's like, yo man, why don't you join politics now? I'll be like, man, what is this? They're all basing everything on the past. I haven't seen a world leader talk about the united species yet. You know, they all speak as if like our nation's going to be great. You know, our category's going to be better than all the categories. You know, and in some sense, you know, we have to be very careful, because the same thing that's happening in politics, it's going to be the same problem that's going to happen in the cloning era. You don't know what that means. That means, imagine there's a garden that's filled with beautiful different flowers, and that's what makes it beautiful. Yet imagine suddenly the dandelions decide to take over the roses. The tulips decide to make the whole garden into tulips. It's as if, what about the beauty of life? What about the majesty of all the different possibilities? It's like trying to clone everybody into one ethical entity. F no. We are in some sense 8 billion human beings with 8 billion different DNAs, 8 billion different eyes, and in some sense what the war of our nations is a testament to. It is a testament to how emotional, it's like 2 DNAs are deciding the fate of 8 billion DNAs, and it's scary. It's scary that the leaders of nations have given themselves a right to the future of the people they are protecting. What I mean by this is that we are right now in the dark ages of the political era. Even though there is way more world peace than before, it is the dark ages. The bright ages will occur when the leaders of nations and those who are smart, you know, I know for sure that the leaders on this planet, they might be way much smarter than me, but I know they're not smart. Because you don't understand the beauty of the realm of strategy. It is the same as like, how many different ways can a dancer move in space? You know, or how many ways can a warrior move the sword in space, and at the same time, how many ways can there be perception and angles to the same moment, which are not being acknowledged? The issue is impatience. That means I laughed. You know, for me, when I look at, how do I say it, news, like videos on YouTube of people in like commercial airlines filming missiles over the clouds, and in my mind I'm like, what the do you know what I mean? A part of me says, hey, do we care about the future, or does the past care about its verification? Sometimes a human being has to decide, is the future more important or is the past? And if the answer is not the future, that person should not be a world leader. You know, we are living at a time where human beings have ego. What is this concept of self-sabotage? Oh, young human being, you're going to figure this out. And oh, old human being, you've probably figured it out by now. I'm kind of in the middle ground. I'm like 33 right now, 34. And with the capabilities with the capabilities of my perception, I ask myself, okay, how could nations self-sabotage this species? And what is self-sabotage? And self-sabotage is when you're living a life that you don't deep down feel you deserve. That means, imagine there's someone, you know, they've been rude, let's say, to their parents, you know, and when someone else's parents is nice to them, in some sense they cannot be too nice. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to explain to humanity that every person is living individual lives in front of you. Pretty much this is how I see the human being. The human being in front of its eyes has access to an outer realms where there's a physical self and a physical world. Behind your eyes, you have access, you treat yourself as a character in a story which translates into an idea inside a bigger idea. Okay? So you treat yourself, if I ask you who you are, you identify, like this is something cool. Anybody who's named, if like any named entity hearing me right now, that's like your citizenship in subjectivity. You are a subjective citizen the moment you were named. The concept of you began emerging, developing, right? So if I ask you who you are, you're going to tell me, you know, your name, and then you're going to say your backstory. You're going to pretty much give me a summary of your biography. Okay? And that's who you think you are. That's who, and you want me to acknowledge you as that. But do you know what I mean? And I'm saying that to some degree is a limited form. See, guys, in the same way we buy new phones and human beings access new technology, this is actually a very core natural algorithm that human beings appreciate expansion. Okay, right now there's probably dimensions in your life that if they suddenly expanded, you would be appreciative. You know? And if somebody's like, Mr. Within, are you trying to create a world of good people? I'll be like, no, such a world cannot exist. It cannot exist here. Earth is neither an angelic heaven and neither a beastly hell. It's an intelligent system though, and it's happening in the middle, and pretty much what you're seeing is going on is that you are present. So I'm trying to tell you, there's an outer self and there's an inner self. And this whole time, every human being you've seen, they've had an inner life where it's like they're looking from a terrace that you are not on. They're looking from a balcony you cannot. You know, this is the cool thing about human beings. Why am I fascinated by intelligence at all? Because it's moving at all. And what's causing it to move is the implication of its own search for value, its own search for meaning. If I was to explain to you what has happened on this planet, pretty much 8 billion organisms unconsciously were occurring. This is a secular explanation. Were unconsciously occurring. And then at some point, it was deemed as a great strategy to become conscious of the existence. So you were like an automated program, and some part of the program from automation mode has come into manual mode, right? And that's what consciousness is. Before you, the environment was updating you, but now you can update the environment. You're updating yourself in the environment. Now, in the same way, if we look at, like, to me, you know, if somebody was like, imagine if you were like, you know, the greatest politician alive, you know, and you wanted to, in some sense, raise the next generation of great politicians, how would you teach politics? And I would say the greatest things worthy of learning are things that are true about the nature of being. We cannot ignore from one angle that it's like these 8 billion organisms, okay, and the way they got here was that they were in some sense unconscious. They were the environment's movement, and now they are conscious of the environment's movement. That means what separates us, what scholars say separates us from like other animals, is that we're aware, and the other thing is we're aware we will die. People might be afraid of death, but the fact that you can even consider that is rendering you as an advanced species on the planet. So I'm pretty much saying, yo, man, it's like, imagine you just got to Earth and you're like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Somebody tell me, you know? And the story would be like, yo, man, it's these organisms that in some sense were automated by nature, and now they can consciously, you know, move in nature. They became aware they are suffering. They became aware of their pain, but they also became aware of their joy. And then they wondered about how advanced reality could be, and we eventually, humanity is discovering that what has been evolving has been an awareness to being. Prior to it has been a specific object or a subject. The story is that the early human beings looked at this world, they couldn't make sense of it, it scared them, and so they hid in their own ideas. This is the folly of man. This is what we must advance. You know, in some sense, if we treated 8 billion human beings as if like look at how unique it is. It's not coincidental. It's specifically designed this way. I'm not saying that like Super Sans and DBZ were in like the show were like a warrior species, but I have a firm belief that we are a designer species. We are a creative species. We are a species that finds solutions where there was once problems. And for me, it's like 8 billion soldiers on a battlefield, right? And they're all dressed in the same human uniform. So you're telling me there's 8 billion, soldiers on a battlefield, and they're all dressed the same, and they're all in some sense part of the same species, same army, and the only issue is that every soldier is lost in their own world, and in some sense there needs to be a command from those who have discovered further To be honest, humanity, let me tell you what it is. If I was to explain to you the staircase to heaven, it wouldn't be made of stone. It would be made of human beings at an elevation endlessly diagonally going up, do you know? Where it's as if one hand has held another hand, and it's like this endless hand holding of human beings in history. It is the greatest ideas of each generation. You don't understand. Whoever you are that's alive right now, you're representing 2025 in all of history till the end of time. You don't get it. It's like they're like, yo, man, I hope they'll remember me in the history books. Buddy, you're creating history. You're creating the way they will remember. That's the nature of reality. Our decisions influence it. But we have to realize the limitations of man, and we should not let our ignorance... let me tell you what's going on. We're inside a existential simulation. Your body, the earth is a simulation. The body is a simulation. The earth is a way longer simulation. The body is a shorter simulation. And all the ideas you have in this 100 years, let's say, of the body's simulation, right, in some sense can only lead to actions. That means there is no point of being a statue in a changing world. Immortality cannot be found by being a statue. It can be found in the values that move reality. Do you know what I mean? The letter A is like immortal. The letters, the 26 letters of the alphabet are immortals, and all the words that are created by them, those can change, but everyone will always know the alphabet. So for the same way in humanity, it's in the nature of true values. Those two words together are very powerful. From one angle, what is the value of truth? From another angle, what is the truth of value? How true is our value? So, I'm going to explain to you, I think I should explain self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is something I have experienced. I didn't know what it was, and the most noob view I had on it was that, man, why am I not lucky? And the most sophisticated view is that, what am I not seeing? That if I could see, I could be better. And it occurred to me that self-sabotage was a program. And you might not believe it right now, but you're a programmed entity. You know, in the same way advanced AI, super intelligence is going to wake up and be like, whoa, am I created in this advance? The aim of conscious existence is to recognize, just like you have two eyes that see one moment of sight, you have an outer life and an inner life that are being one whole moment of you. And so this is so important, because it means there is not only an objective reality, a subjective reality, an emotional reality, a reality where space is the primordial value. There's so many ways to look at this world, and it kind of convinces you that there's a grander side to it. You see, for me, it's as if what is the honor in being a simulated being that suddenly has noticed it is in a simulation? What is the honor of that? How can a simulated being find honor? You have to find the original. And so in some sense, from the beginning of my life till now, it has been an attempt to search for the original earth, for the original world, for the original state. And I came to this realization that you can try to experience oneness and non-duality and even Tawheed as much as you want, but in some sense, God's plans are greater than man's plans. There's a system admin beyond the world room that already knows every angle of everything. And so you're in a divine surveillance state, you're in a testing zone. At first, if you just go based on your feelings, the mods may give you the feelings. But at some point, when you notice something so important in reality, they're like, what's the purpose of life? And it's like, at first, it's to look at it and then to be like, what am I looking at? And then you march in. You see, the whole point of it is from one angle, the human beings, the world leaders right now, where there is war, they're basing everything on the past. It's like a relationship from the present to the past. In the past, you did this. In the past, you said this. In the past, like, the leaders, like, do you know what I mean? It's like you're blaming an infinite regress. Do you know? There was this story in India where this kid went to court to sue his parents. And his parents were like, what kind of child did we raise? Do you know? And the kid goes to court and they're in the courtroom and the kid says, I'm suing my parents because I didn't ask to be born. And our culture acknowledges the Atman. Do you know? And they need to, in some sense, it's like, it's like it's as if he was saying that it's like everything is their fault. And the court and the parents go to the court and the parents say, well, it wasn't our fault, it was our parents' fault, and then it was their parents' fault. And the court guy looks at this kid, it's like, you dumbass, do you know it's an infinite regress? That means, who do we blame? It's an endless. That means if I say the world leaders of now are bad, I mean, like, they were raised in the world. So so what I'm saying is, you can never figure out whose fault it was, but you can forget the past because it has already forgotten you, and that's why you're in the present. You're the present you. And the blessing, one of God's mercy on mankind was like, I'm going to give your aql, your intelligence, I'm going to give you intelligence to be able to notice and discriminate, and to be able to, in some sense, be ambassadors of the divine attributes of manifestation in the simulation and reveal to all, not just humans, to all beings present, energetic beings present. Do you know that the consciousness can attain originality? The originality is not like your personal ego code originality. It's the originality that at some point, it doesn't matter what your body and mind is doing. Your soul is standing in the back, being like, "What am I? Where is it going? What now?" And it's always like the same feeling of a liftoff. You know how there's that scene in Man of Steel where Superman, before he's about to fly, the earth shakes and the pebbles lift up? And it's as if like it's the emergence of a greater power in the presence of the Lord. So what I'm saying, in the same way, right now, we're in the most profound times. There was a view, I was like, should it escalate and should it not? And I was like, the past self that fears says should not, but the modern says, okay, let's see how these human beings start World War III. Let's see what they're gonna do. And let's say how long it takes them to realize that the future generations are waiting for them. How long does it take for the grandchild of these old world leaders to go and stare at their grandfathers in like and be like, why? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why? Like, you don't understand. The intelligence of the human being plus AI should be able to find so many new strategies into resolving human developments, that the fact that human beings based on traditional psychological patterns are fighting is scary in a modern world. The genius of reality should be, in some sense, let me tell you, there's two types of genius. Okay, I have on this earth, I have discovered two types of genius. Okay, there's an unhidden genius, and then there's a hidden genius. You don't understand what the hidden genius is. The hidden genius is like the greatest values possibility. to continue. Where does it all lead? Guys, self-sabotage is when your inner life's value does not align with your outer life's occurrence. So imagine you're someone who's like a thief, okay? Or let me find a better example. Let's say you're a world leader. And you look at this world, and you look at your nation, and you look at every day of your life, and you even look at the mirror, and you even look at the greater mirror, the sky, and you truly wonder what is the value of human life. The value of human life is that the species holds a hidden genius. That every moment of your life there was a blind spot you had where the greatest possibility of an action existed. In every moment, in everything you have ever done, your mind was capable of envisioning someone doing it better. And that's the fascinating thing about life, that you start off thinking you're an individual object, then it's like, think of your intelligence as an eagle. You start off being an eagle on a branch, thinking you're just this physical self in a physical world, and one nice evening you just close your eyes for a moment, and the content of your mind scroll in your awareness. That means you don't understand. The world is not just moving in front of you. It is moving behind you, and a certain faction of that movement you identify as your subjective self. But in actuality, the mystery of human consciousness leads to the realization that at the core value, that means it's like we're trying to add all the different types of sight we have, and to wonder about what is the total. And it's like all right, I have a biological sight right now, I could close my eyes and visualize the future. I could remember memories from the past, even though those moments don't exist, but they're recordings. And so I can have this advanced relationship as a being with a sort of geometry behind my eyes as much as in front of it. That means I'm like, okay, I can see in front of my eyes with my biological eyes, but I could close my eyes, and if somebody said visualize an apple, I could. So I can see without light entering my eyes, and that means that there's an additional dimension to the human intelligence unacknowledged by academia. Or soon to be. And in other words, it's an awareness. So at your core, if somebody was like, yo man, what's this being here? Like, what is this being? Like, what's the human being? I'll be like, it's an unknown life force moving through a knowable life form. And it's simulations over simulations over simulations, and you suddenly understand why the saints, why the wisdom of the ancients was like, just be honest as a being. Honesty is a great power. It is like a crown for hidden kings. This world is incredible because it shows us how it moves, and we move through it. And now that moment in history has come. That means I want you to imagine you've gone to the movie theaters and you're watching the greatest film mankind has created. You're looking in the mirror and you're discovering that you were not just the soul. You were not just a named subject of character. You are a member of the human species, which means the future of all of us belongs to you. It's the greater games of life, the new emotions, the new archetypes. It's as if you begin to realize, you know, in a changing world, to loop is a flaw. And so we are being tested in regards to, is there something within you that remembers the original? For if you are a soul, the soul was created, and could it have been aware the moment it was? A memory that could never have been taken from it. A truth that is hiding behind your eyes. That right now you're on the earth game and you're on level 1, the species. Level 1, the self. You care about the problems of yourself and the solutions of yourself. Then you go to level 2 of the earth game. And level 2 of the earth game is the species. You suddenly realize in the same time, with the same magnificence and awe, that someone realizes God was in the room before the room was here. Do you know what I mean? With the same awe and fascination of realizing what it means that God is not just the higher power, it is the original power. And we're all living for the smile of greater worlds that will, how would I say it, we may return to. That means make the ending great, and the beginning will smile as well. It's who you will become it's like when your future self becomes more fascinating than your past self, you'll never understand how you could have been depressed in an unknown world. So level 1, it's like you've solved your own problems. Level 2, what are the problems of my species? And you suddenly see, oh my God, from human beings who were just like, distracted by media, and in some sense, how can I say distracted by media, and so many younger generations were like, I don't want to even leave my house. I'm not going to go vote. Do you know what I mean? And so in this era, that generation, the generation of human beings in 2025, is with the same fascination. Tony Stark stepped into the Iron Man suit for the first time. And the moment he did, he understood the possibilities of it. We're going to see 8 billion human beings suddenly remember their future. And we will be ushered into speciesism. That means when you look at another human being, you're like, yo, that's not an alien. That's not an android. That's not a fictional, living subject. That's a member of the human species. And the human species, compared to all the species on this earth, we seem to be ridiculously noticing way much more. And with that power comes responsibility. Uncle Ben did not lie to Spider-Man. Spider-Man had lied to himself. To awaken, it's like, yo man, we saw this, I was 1991, that's a generation where Pokemon came out. And the Pokemon would evolve. You would reach a certain point in your life, just like how you outgrow clothing. Similarly, you in some sense outgrow the context of reality. Whether you sleep and wake up, it remains endlessly expanding. So self-sabotage is when the inner realms has in some sense activated in a different way than what's happening to the outer realms. It's the glitch that happens when you're kind to the cruel. The heart opens. A species evolves beyond its ignorance. Isaac Asimov said it best: violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. War is a sign of intellectual defeat. And there's always a cost to dishonesty. The dishonesty of a world leader could be the cost of hundreds of thousands of lives. There was a moment where, how can I say it? In my youth, I was so shy and introverted that people would be like, hey, would you want to go and play soccer outside? And I would, in some sense, sometimes be cut off. In my mind, I could not understand how I could deserve that value, and so I did not accept that value. But as I grew older, I began to realize that every person's principal universal philosophy, it means that you're just like the earth has an axis, your soul has an opinion. For me, it's about the honor of level 1 being the self-responsibility and self-advancement. Level 2 being about species advancement, species responsibility. Level 3 is about world advancement, world responsibility. And level 4 of this earth game is to notice, it's the most important level, and you can even do it from the start, is to notice the system admin, the highest power. That means it's not just human beings here on earth that are just having an interaction physically with animals or in dream states or whatever states of mind, having interactions with subjective forms. I'm not saying that in some sense there's this view that God is the light of lights, the soul is the shadow of God, and the spirit is the shadow of soul, and all knowledge is animated in human spirit. The soul stands as a witness of multiple values rather than the identification as one. For me, it's not about everybody becoming the same being. It's about all of us realizing that we're inside an existential system. There's a system admin, and then there's these users or players, and then there's moderators. Now the difference is that the moderators are simulated beings that have authority over the simulation, certain sectors of the simulation, let's say. And then the users, in some sense, are also simulated creations, original creations of the system admin, and they have a specific conscious role. That means before, in some sense, the calamity struck, the whole existence, God commanded all of existence to bow to man. And it's not that we are worthy of worship, is that we are the creator, we are the creation of the creator beyond the world. And whatever the case happened, we got caught in the crossfires of a moderator and the system admin, whatever. God's greatness is that it knows before we can. That's the whole point of a simulated entity. So a simulated entity conceptually is a being that started and will end. But God is a being that has never started, never end. It is original. It is legit. Like you don't understand why they say Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the final messenger, because he completed what what a Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, started. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, finished. And what that meant is that God revealed to the Holy Quran is source code pointing to the main operating system of reality. And violence is just a misuse of something people never understood, really. That means the holy texts are true, God is real, it is man that is choosing how he extracts value from experience. You have like a bunch of people going into an art gallery, and they look, and all of them look at the artwork Okay, and one person hates it, one person loves it. What does that mean? The meaning of reality is subjectively our responsibility. So nations self-sabotaging the species humorously is similar to a person self-sabotaging their future self because their past is convincing them they don't deserve it. And all beings in reality, since the greatness is watching us and has created us, it's as if the whole moment is really great. Doesn't matter how much you feel like a winner or loser. The design, the positioning of your intelligence as an awakening to a sector of reality, to a world at all. It is a magnificence of such an advancement that sometimes they're like, what's the meaning of life? And they'll be like, put away the exclamation point and pick up the question mark. Shift the weapons of your perception, which is another way of saying, once you realize human beings are imperfect, so God is an original being, man is a simulated being, which means man was started and will end. And right now we're in the middle of the bell curve of this process as a species. And if somebody says, Mr. Within, what do you think the most advanced civilization is? I would say the final civilization is heaven. But the most advanced civilization on earth is an advanced civilization that is being responsible for all of its being in the most advanced way. And it's going to realize it's limited. So it's going to look at this world room and it's going to be like, is it empty? And then it's going to wonder it can never be empty, because the awareness to emptiness means there's something there, noticing emptiness. So in some sense, it's a recognition that everything in human life, what we call the unnatural, is based on a hierarchy. And that means everybody is living for a future self that is better, a higher archetype than now. So self-sabotage is when you kind of feel you don't deserve your future. Somebody in the chat section says, do you believe you will live eternally in heaven after this life? First answer is, I don't know. Second answer is, I feel that before heaven and hell, I will meet the system admin. That's my feeling. I feeling like I sometimes look at this life and I'm like, yo man, it's like I'm an employee. There's managers, right? Like, there's greater forces than me, like managing the outcome of situations. But then there is the boss of the company. And it's this constant thing of realizing the edge of the world is the awareness beyond it. So I don't know, but I think a part of me has reached a sort of not making myself so important that it really doesn't matter. You see, it's all about noticing the greatest value and acknowledging it. What's the point of truth being here, and if a person can't notice it? What's the value of a species if we destroy it? There's no value in it. And I'm saying the world leaders that so easily fire missiles at each other do not understand that there's generations of human beings that deserve to come and advance everything we've been doing so far. Poetically, like, think of the species as a person and think of like shifting from nationalism to speciesism, and having Species Unity Day and having the United Species Council, and every smart world leader becomes the most famous of world leader by, in some sense, like joining the USC. That means we're like, yo guys, we played the game of nations, but we're actually the same human species. And now let us treat every nation as sectors of one brain of mankind. I have this feeling that in the next 100 years, everybody's gonna be like, yo, yeah, Species Unity Day, Species Unity Day. They're gonna be like, yeah, man. And when we reach that, the whole point of it is that the global vision, like for me in my mind, an advanced civilization is going to be sincerely like a best friend to every citizen. Do you know what that means? That means in an advanced civilization, your civilization understands its advancement is dependent on your quality of life. So we immediately unite as a species and globally advance all sectors. You don't understand, it's very easy. It's kind of like, once you see the chess moves, you just have to wait. Behind our eyes, we have accessed advanced realities and possibilities of human civilization. But in front of our eyes, it's like, what are we doing now? What are these world leaders doing now? Why are they even using technology that's destructive? Like, why didn't the world, in some sense, ban its own self-destructive possibilities? You know what I mean? And why is it, in some sense, we have AI and we don't have like the United Nations being like, all right, guys, thanks for all the world leaders giving their opinions. Now we're going to ask AI and what AI thinks we should do. I'm waiting for the United Nations to use ChatGPT or something. Ask it, how do we resolve the Iran and Israel conflict? And show it in front of the world. That is the most genius thing. That's the most V for Vendetta thing. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever rebellion stands for. In some sense, Che Guevarian thing. It's a rebellion of pointing to truth in a world that was using falsehood. It is the honor of a species restoring, regardless of all the ways the mind can fathom separation. If I truly want to hate someone, do you know how many ways my mind can project? If I want to love someone, do you know how many ways my mind can project? So it's the nature of man. It is the attention of how a soul is even here at all. Every day I wake up, it's like, yo man, lions roar and human beings notice. Consciousness is an opportunity. The future is a blessing and a clue that every human being should be like. This whole time, my emotions have been based on how the present has been looking at the past. But what if the present started looking at the future? What if the present wondered about all the possibilities of the greatness of the species? And what if in your mind you ran so far ahead that you saw your most advanced self, and after you saw your most advanced self, you went and ran further in your mind and you saw the most advanced civilization known to man, and then after that you ran even further and you saw the most advanced state of a world at all, and then you run even further and you realize in some sense you have reached the original moment where man stands in the presence of the system admin and says, forgive me if it wasn't enough. How do our eyes open to where it's all going? For me, whether it's like we're in a utopia or a dystopia, or whether, there's World War III, Einstein said, World War III would be fought with like nukes. Sorry, he didn't say that. Einstein said that I don't know what World War III, I don't know what World War III, what weapons World War III would be fought with, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. That means if we enter, it's like a threshold, guys. You don't understand. The species is just chilling, not taking this seriously. Right now, politically on the planet, we're at a threshold. There's a line that shouldn't be crossed, and that line is that it's like two people are fighting. It shouldn't become more than two people. If other people want to enter the fight, they're bringing in global disaster. That means if other nations get involved, there's an issue there. And I was like pretty much like, Iran and Israel, they're allies. They probably have one ally that's like a bigger, older brother to them, right? And the older brothers should immediately ceasefire the two younger brothers fighting, and they should resolve it themselves. That means you don't need to see right now, for example, America, getting involved in the war. What you need to see is America ceasefiring the war and talking to an ally of Iran and being like, hey man, if our younger siblings fight and if me and you fight, is it going to destroy the whole world? And we need those conversations now. Where are the philosophers? Where are the intellectuals on planet Earth? You have a phone, you have a camera, get on YouTube and in some sense, shout what you notice that they don't. How else can the world evolve if the lion doesn't roar? What kingdom? And what this means is, when I say lion roar, I'm not saying no nation can freaking own the concept of a lion. A lion is an animal free of any leash. And lions in nature roar. Do you know what that means? That means they have a sort of honor and value, but their roar is like, lion doesn't go kill like the whole herd. It just, do you know what I'm saying? The issue must be resolved before a global issue opens its eyes. Right now, you don't understand. It's like two nations fighting. It's like these two giants, like two giant robots are fighting on the planet. Now if other nations come in, it'll be like a bunch of giant robots fighting and destroying civilization, not realizing that they're fighting because of who's correct based on the past, their past value, not realizing in the future, if aliens attacked us right now, it would be species unite. If a meteor was about to attack us, every engineer and every job would be united to try to get us into interstellar cities. Or cities in the atmosphere or whatever, or spaceships or something. So I'm saying right now there's way bigger problems for humanity. These nations are fighting based on past stories, and all 8 billion human beings are watching this, wondering what we can do and what will happen. And in some sense, I'm saying it's like the only option seems is that hearts need to roar in cyberspace, suggesting that the future is way more important than past conflict. Who you were in the past, guess what? It's over. It happened, and you tunneled through the experiences, and you're here now. So the future remains. Any ideological system that is making humanity in the present forget its future is an evil system. That means if somebody's like, yo man, Buddha was peaceful, I'm like, there's an evil there. What is the evil? The evil is like, yo man, let's be nothing together. What? Why is the form here? Why are our eyes open to a species that is right now divide and conquered strangely? In nations, but it's like we're identifying with chunks of land. It's a species on a planet. Get real, like that's the whole point. And the whole self-sabotage goes away, because self-sabotage happens is because there's some impurity, some dishonesty, some moment in your life where made you feel undeserving of the rest. And so you must in some sense find your creator. When man finds his limitations, when like my mind reached a sort of point where I was like, wait a minute, there could be infinite viewpoints on anything. And then I understood why there requires to be a higher power. That it's like whether God is a concept or God is the greatest potential of humanity's return to the original state as a simulated position. It's no longer about whether we all need to believe in the same things. It's about if we can all build together. That's it. We have to build, and to get the future here. It's like the point of it is as if you are right now living probably for your future self, or if you're a family man, you're living for the future of your family, or if you're a patriot, you're living for the future of your nation. But you must acknowledge the fact that every value, just like we go to an art gallery and we see an artwork and we give it the meaning, you are inputting meaning into your specificity. You're giving your specificity meaning. And I'm saying that we need to, as human beings on Earth, be responsible for the future of the species now. The future is too important for the present to mess up. That's the joy, that's the fun of the game of life. How will genius step out of, you know, how would genius, remind chaos that truth is beyond even order? We are in the position of not just a simulated existential reality, we are in the presence of an original experiential expression. The reason you're aware that you have a body right now, the reason you can consider yourself to be a named entity, the reason you can close your eyes and remember yesterday or visualize the future, the reason these are all accessible to you is because their utility, their design suggests a utility, and their utility is dependent on your choice. So I pretty much looked at this planet and I'm like, yo man, 8 billion people all valuing their lives based on the past. Let me be a futurist. The future is always more beautiful. It's where greatness remembers or redeems. We want to experience the most advanced self, the most advanced species, and the most advanced world. That is man's great opportunity. Theologically, God created something so great that it was worthy of creation bowing to God for its creation. Every day that I am alive, every moment I notice my own existence's position, a part of me asks itself, how seriously can I take reality? And from one angle, it's an opportunity. That means opportunity means if you're smart, it's endless. I'm pretty much saying right now there's 8 billion human beings on Earth, and I as one human being in 2025, I've consciously already made the choice, and I'm living in accordance to an advanced civilization in my inner realms. For me right now, I don't really care about so many things that are normal to care about right now. Because in my mind, I ask myself, what would the advanced possibility of any construct be? What is the value and the genius of to be aware that there is design, that to in some sense notice your body is a life, is a form of life energy. Do you know your mind is in some sense a life force? It's a type of energy that has will. Will means an ability to notice, to decide. And man is being tested, your soul is being tested on how it moves here, what it does here. Until humanity discovers that the function of the human design has a divine algorithm in it. There's something original about noticing a simulation. So let's hope that species, it never gets to a point where nations self-sabotage their possibility of an advanced united species, becoming multi-planetary, interstellar, a very sophisticated and elegant in how it acknowledges reality. AI ethics councils everywhere. Ethics councils of all kinds everywhere. I'm saying we need to usher the younger generations, like, I don't know, whoever cares for the future needs to help me, or not just help me, help humanity be ushered into an era where it's like you can see, like, yo, man, in my past I made a mistake, so that's my value. But then you're like, wait a minute, I can go and do so many different things in the future, therefore there is the possibility of so many different values. I've imagined the last talk I give, like what it's going to be like. Man is fascinated by the future. It was our ability in the inner realms to fathom, like, all right, we evolved because we adapted, which means the mind of the entity could notice that if I stand here, the ground's going to fall. If I stand here, the ground's safe, for example. I'm saying it was a willingness to continue towards the future, which in some sense is how the simulation has nowhere else to return to aside from the original. So self-sabotage is there is because you're being a self that is not aligned to your original being. Human beings have a value more than citizens of a nation that can be killed. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's, like, you don't know how many in World War II, it was like 60 million. What was it? You know how many people, like, how many out of that 60 million, how many of them were geniuses? How many of them were inventors? How many of them would be like raised great human beings in the world? So I'm saying, like, human beings don't need to be the consequence. Like, these guys can resolve it, like even have the UN create a video game of all their militaries and for them to simulate, like, for them to simulate what's going to happen if they fight. Like Ubisoft works with the UN. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. I hope this lecture was interesting. I hope that war stops. I hope that the leaders of nations understand what better ways reality can happen. But at the same time, if they do continue and reality is escalated to a global unnecessary conflict, then the citizens of all nations have to, like, look at each other and be like, guys, enough with these nation games. We're all one species. Let's come up with a collective strategy. Do you know what I mean? And let's ask AI. Do you know what I mean? Like the world leaders just need to use AI. That's it. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. And of course, ultimately, we're in a simulated world. And regardless of whether good forces or positive forces or negative forces in regards to moderators engage us, it's really about how humanity deserves to get to see its future. And it's like all chaos entities and all ordered entities, drop arms. That means, in some sense, what I mean by that is, like, drop your weapons, and for one moment, every being alive in 2025 help contribute and build an advanced civilization, and then choose to be chaotic and ordered in advanced ways. First build the advanced civilization, then be chaotic and advanced. It's like a ceasefire on all national diverse conflicts. But ultimately, the system admin knows. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.